Howdy. Do you know the most dangerous animal in the world? Maybe a shark, crocodile, gorilla? No, none of those. It's actually a mosquito. Those little bugs that fly around, and suck your blood and you're having to constantly smack at them. Yeah, mosquitoes, they're known to transmit certain diseases. But certain diseases such as malaria, which we'll be talking about today, and the fight against malaria, understanding a global threat. Now, today I'm here to inform the audience, y'all, about this disease, but more specifically the biology, the transmission, and the prevention of this disease. Now today, I'm gonna hit y'all with 3 key components of this disease. 1, the biology of the mosquito vector. 2, the transmission cycle and human impact. And 3, the prevention strategies of this disease. Now with a better understanding of how malaria works, if that's with just as simple as the human effects or even the location mapping, it's better for y'all to understand and be informed about how malaria is working and could be prevented further on. Now, with the biology of this organism, the vector of the malaria is the Anopheles mosquito, which according to malariavaccine.org, the Anopheles have a 4-stage life cycle that includes the egg, the larva, the pupa, and the adult. Now, larvae live in water and feed on the organic matter, which is good to know for later. More specifically, this map that we see, which shows the warm and humid climates, which is where they live, but in still or slow-moving bodies of water is where they reproduce and repopulate, where you can see this colored region on this map is where the tropical and subtropical regions are, where they're usually and most specifically at within this world. Now, we understand the biology of malaria. Let's talk about how it spreads and affects humans. Now, this transmission cycle, it involves Anopheles mosquitoes, humans, and the Plasmodium parasite. Within the host, the parasite circulates in the bloodstream and produces gametocytes. Mosquito becomes infected with the parasite. Parasite matures in the mosquito's body. Then the mosquito feeds on the human. Sporozoites are transmitted and the cycle restarts. Now, when the transmission cycle is done and over with, the human disease and the effects come into play. Now, common symptoms according to Mayo Clinic, fever, chills, headaches, and fatigue, can be seen, just as simple as a cold or a little bug. But when it comes to severe stages, we can see brain damage, fatality, and then long-term effects, anemia or organ failure. And then treatment-wise, we see drugs, therapies, and even vaccines, while we see a lot of funding and organizations are constantly being kept up with to see if we can get a better preventing to malaria. Now, malaria does have a complex transmission cycle, and we are trying to work with it, but let's shift into different ways to prevent malaria, which this is disease prevention. According to World Health Organization, wearing long sleeve shirts can help prevent it, as well as insect repellent, and sleeping under bed nets could help as well. While reducing the amount of mosquitoes can be eliminating standing water, which we saw earlier in that map. Disrupting the transmission cycle, insecticide-treated bed nets are also within that, and indoor insecticide spraying regularly can be a factor as well. So what are we going to grasp from this information? It is a lot of information, but then again, malaria is a very sensitive topic whenever we're talking about diseases and the effects on it. See, from mosquitoes to the biology of the humans, to even the effects and how it can play with certain individuals, it's important to know that malaria starts with the parasites and also the humans. It only comes with 2 factors, which means it's best for us to be able to prevent this disease as much as possible, to be able to shorten that outcome and the effects on other individuals. And if that's as sleeping with a bed net or even just using a repellent could be beneficial to somebody. Any questions?
Yes, I do.
You in the back, yeah.
So as you mentioned in the slide with the map, you mentioned that they reproduce in still or slow-moving bodies of water. Could you give some examples of those?
Yeah, of course. If in your backyard you got a little puddle, if it's still water, from maybe a little rain, that could definitely be a factor there, or even like a little river or pond would be good.